Lake Honda Hotline, Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Sports writer and author of 23 New York Times bestsellers, most recently the official biography of golf icon David Feherty in Feherty. It's a pleasure to welcome in John Feinstein. John, how are you this afternoon, man?
Rami, PJ, good to talk to you guys. Thanks.
It's a pleasure to have you in. Let's start with the biggest name that's being thrown around in the sports world today, and that's Shohei Ohtani. A lot of people think he'll be playing for a different team by the trade deadline come August 1st. How do you see things playing out with him?
Well, the way the Angels have been going, especially with Mike Trout hurt now, I'm assuming that they're looking at the possibility. They have to listen to offers. I wouldn't move the guy unless the guy has said, or his agent has said, he's not coming back next year regardless. You can offer him $500 million and he's going to go play somewhere else. He can play for the Dodgers or the Yankees or Phillies or whomever. Unless that's been said, I wouldn't trade him. Now, remember, I live in a town where a year ago, the Washington Nationals traded Juan Soto, who is 5 years younger than Shohei Ohtani, not as talented as Shohei Ohtani is because no one is, but here's a guy who certainly has a chance to be a Hall of Famer someday. And he was 2.5 years away from free agency, not a half season away. And they traded him. And I wrote back a year ago that not only was it a mistake to trade him, because you never know what's going to happen with prospects. One thing I'm pretty sure of is none of the prospects they got are going to be as good as Juan Soto. And it's also selfish. When you've got a team that's been terrible since it won the World Series in 2019, you owe it to the fans to keep your best player out there. Now, the Angels haven't been in the playoffs since, 2015 or 2016? And they owe their fans the best possible show they can give them. So unless Ohtani and his agent have said, we ain't coming back next year, no matter what, I think you hold on to him and you try to sign him at the end of the season.
John, FP Jr. here. I want to play hypothetical just real quick. I know the offseason is far away. We're talking trade deadline right now, but I'm thinking about this like every single day. Where do you think Shohei Ohtani will land, and which landing spot would be the best for baseball and for the game of baseball?
That's a good way to ask the question. If I knew where he was going to land, then I would go to one of these million gambling sites and bet a hell of a lot of money that he's going to land wherever I believed or knew he was going to land. I think, personally, I always think it's best for the game when players stay with their teams.
Okay.
When players stay with where they came up. For example, somebody on MLB TV a couple weeks ago said that the Mets should be sellers at the deadline. Now, I'm a Mets fan. I'm a lifelong Mets fan. That's why I bring this up, which is unfortunate. But I sat there and said, oh, okay. I could see where, given how poorly they play, they might be sellers at the deadline. But he brought up Pete Alonso. You don't trade Pete Alonso. He is a franchise player. The last time the Mets made a trade that stupid, and I'm old enough to remember, it was when they traded Tom Seaver, whose nickname, by the way, was the franchise. I think it would be best for baseball if Ohtani stayed with the Angels, hope that Trout can have a healthy season somewhere in his lifetime, and that they can get enough pitching to be a factor. Now, do I expect that to happen? No. I really don't. I think he's going to go elsewhere, that someone like the Dodgers or the Yankees or the Red Sox, who have more money than God, are going to make him that $500 million plus offer. And he's going to end up there. Now, I don't know Shohei Ohtani. I read that he is a West Coast guy. So maybe he goes to the Dodgers. Maybe he goes to the Mariners. He was certainly given a heck of an ovation during the All-Star game up in Seattle. And obviously Ichiro was a hero in Seattle, who's also Japanese. So I'd say if I had to bet, thank God I don't because I'd be broke, I would bet the Dodgers or the Mariners with the Yankees as the dark horses.
No love for the San Francisco Giants?
Well, it's not lack of love. It's just that I don't see him ending up there. And they went after Aaron Judge big time.
Yep.
And made a hell of an offer. And he went back to the Yankees. And
Yeah.
I never thought for a second he was going to leave the Yankees. The Yankees don't let, again, potential future Hall of Famers leave, especially after he hit 62 home runs. But, maybe the Giants could come in. The Giants are a very good organization, as they're proving again this season. So maybe I should not have overlooked the Giants. I'll tell you one team he's not going to is the Oakland Vegas A's.
Yes, and that's so sad. Can we stay on your Mets real quick? So the trade deadline is approaching. So excuse me. So sticking with your Mets, the trade deadline is approaching, and the San Francisco Giants are looking for starting pitching. Do you see an avenue where Max Scherzer or Justin Verlander are coming to San Francisco? Because there is a huge need for starting pitching. The Mets are 6 games below 500. I think that's a match made in heaven if, the deal is right.
Well, yeah, if the deal is right. And if the Giants are willing to give up a bunch of prospects, I think Scherzer's more likely because remember, Verlander has another year on his contract at $45 million a year. And neither one of them has been terrible, but neither one of them has been the Hall of Famer that they're going to be someday. So there's certainly some risk for the Giants in making that kind of move. The Mets made that kind of move to get Scherzer, and he pitched very well last year until September, and he'd always been a good fall pitcher. So could I see a deal like that happening? I could, but I think Scherzer's more likely because I don't think the Giants want to commit to $45 million in Justin Verlander's salary next year.
Talking with John Feinstein here on Sactown Sports. The man does it all, and you can check out his new book, Faraday, the biography of golfer John Faraday. Wanted to switch gears. David Faraday, I'm sorry. Wanted to switch gears.
Been called worse.
Wanted to talk some NBA with you, and we got 2 high-profile guys sitting out there that requested trades going back a couple of weeks now in James Harden and Dame Lillard, and both those teams sort of digging their heels in and saying, look, we'll try to find you a trade, but if we don't get value, we're going to go into the season with these guys. Do you think we're seeing a shift in the way that these superstars and their trade demands are going to be handled?
I honestly don't think so. It's been, as you guys know, for the last few years that when someone demands trade, one way or the other, they get the trade.
Right.
And the thing is, if I were Miami, who's the team always mentioned with Lillard, or anybody else, I'd love to have him because he's not only a great player, but a great team guy, somebody you want in your city. Harden, the only player I would be less likely to want than Harden is Kyrie Irving because Kyrie Irving's a cancer and it doesn't matter where he goes. Now, he did win a championship in Cleveland. But he had a guy next to him. I'm trying to remember his name, who was pretty good. Oh yeah, LeBron James.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, I've heard of him too. And Mike Krzyzewski said to me, I was talking to him about Irving months ago, and he said to me, Kyrie's not a bad guy. Now remember, he coached Kyrie in college, and I said, no, Kyrie is a bad guy because he's smart, and he still does all these stupid things. You forgive someone who's stupid for doing something stupid. Like I've always said, when John Daly screwed up, John Daly's just not terribly bright. He has a heart of gold. He's an incredibly nice guy. But if he does something stupid, you're not shocked. But when Tiger Woods did something stupid, I was shocked because Tiger Woods is really smart. And so I think ultimately they both get traded. And especially with all the whining that Joel Embiid is doing now. So I think they will ultimately get traded. But I think what both teams are doing is smart, is saying, oh, no, we're not going to trade him. Well, that ups the value of the deal that you're going to get.
That's John Feinstein. Again, check out his latest book, Faraday, the latest of 23 New York Times bestsellers. And you can follow him on Twitter at John Feinstein. Link right there to go and buy that book. And our guest for the last few minutes. Appreciate the time and the insight, John. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me.
And he joins us on the Folsom Lake Honda Hotline. Folsom